Aloe stands on the windowsill in almost every home, but 90% of people use it wrong and don't even get a tenth parts of what this plant can provide. Over the years of studying traditional medicine, I learned a lot, and I have to share it with you. Today I want you to look at this familiar plant as completely with different eyes. You know that were you surprised? Aloe grows in people's gardens for decades. It stands there on the window, gathering dust. Sometimes break off a leaf from it and apply it to the burn or apply it to the abscess. And that's it. Knowledge ends. And meanwhile the plant was used by the Egyptians' pharaoh, Cleopatra. Yes, I wipe my face with it every morning. Alexander Macedonian took aloe with him on his campaigns to treat the soldiers' wounds. But the pharaohs and commanders are a distant history. But what's happening right now in modern laboratories, almost nothing about it, nobody knows. We'll come back to this. First, let's figure out what most people do it wrong. The first mistake, and it's the worst common, is to think that any aloe is equally beneficial. There are actually more than 500. There are 500 species of this plant, and there are really many medicinal properties, only 2. Aloe vera with wide fleshy leaves, light green, often with white spots, and aloe tree-like, with long dark green with leaves and thorns along the edges. So, these 2 species differ in composition, and what is suitable for one case may not work at all in another. We'll talk about this a little later when we talk about specific recipes. The second mistake is still more seriously. People buy juice at the pharmacy, aloe, and think they get all the power plants. This is not true, and I will explain why. When I worked at the clinic, a woman 62 years old came to me with chronic stomach ulcer. I suffered for many years. I took pills by the handful. Diet observed the strictest. It got easier, then again aggravation, a vicious circle. And here it is one day she says to me, "Doctor," and I started drinking aloe juice from the pharmacy. A friend advised me. I was skeptical then, but I thought, there will be no harm. Let him drink in a month. Comes, no changes. Doesn't help. Your Scarlet says. And I didn't know it then. What I know now. I didn't know why. Pharmacy juice is not the same thing at all, the most that a fresh leaf. I didn't know that in is lost during industrial processing up to 80% of active substances, and that preservatives that are added for long-term storage partially destroyed exactly those components that make aloe is medicinal. I found this out later. It's a pity that I couldn't give her the right one then advice. The third mistake is the most dangerous. And here I need you to listen carefully. Many people think, since aloe it's a plant, so it's harmless. You can eat as much as you want, spread it wherever you want, give it to anyone you want. This is dangerous. Misconception. Aloe contains substances called anthraquinones. They are in a yellow liquid which flows out when you cut the leaf. Have you seen such a yellowish droplet, grounds? These are anthraquinones. In small doses, they are beneficial and stimulate digestion, but if there are too many of them, they start problems. The strongest laxative effect, irritable bowel syndrome. Definitive use in large quantities have serious consequences for health. There is a simple way: prepare the sheet so that it can be removed excess anthraquinones and leave only useful. One doctor taught me this method, Central Asia, where aloe was used centuries, but more on that later. Let's start by figuring out what it really is located inside this amazing plants. When I first saw the chemical composition of aloe, I understood why the ancients called it a plant immortality. So what is actually located inside the aloe leaf? Why is this plant works where some do not? Medications. When I was in medical school at the institute, they told us, people's medicine is a relic of the past. There is scientific drugs, there is evidence base, and grandma's recipes for those who doesn't want to be treated properly. I believed it. I believed it for a long time, and then I started digging into the research and discovered that there are hundreds of serious scientific papers on aloe it works. These aren't charlatan articles, the internet, and publications in authoritative medical journals. And here's what it turned out. The main active ingredient aloe is a polysaccharide called asparagine. It stimulates immune cells, macrophages. These are the eaters in our body who find and destroy everything foreign, bacteria, viruses, damaged cells. With age, macrophages work worse, become lazy if you like. Asparagine them spurs makes you work more active. This is just the beginning. In Scarlet contains substances that accelerate tissue healing. Not just help to heal, namely, they speed it up several times. There are studies where they compared healing burns with and without lard. The difference in time is almost 2 times. Next are the anti-inflammatory components. There are several types of them and they work differently. Some block substances that cause inflammation, others reduce its swelling, the third relieves pain, and they do it's gentler than chemicals. Anti-inflammatory drugs, without them side effects on the stomach. Here's why aloe helps with ulcers. Remember the patient I talked about at the very beginning? She drank pharmacy juice and nothing was happening. And all because he has appreciated the very same one, the main polysaccharide, very unstable. When heated or stored for a long time, it is destroyed. Upon contact with preservatives too. In pharmacy juice there is very little left. A fresh leaf, it's a completely different matter. There, all the substances are in an active form and ready to work. But this is what is important to understand. Aloe is not magic pill. I didn't drink it in healthy. It's a tool. And like any tool, it needs to be used correctly use. I remember cases from practice. He came to me, a man named Victor, 58 years old, complained about skin problems. Some rashes don't pass for months. Dermatologists prescribed ointments. It was better for a while. Then everything would come back. We got to talking. It turned out that he was somewhere. I read about aloe and started applying the juice from a sheet. I cut the sheet straight out and squeezed it out. Contents and applied to the skin each day. It seemed to help in the first days, but then the skin got even worse. Do you know what was there a problem? He used aloe wrong, didn't let the leaf ripen. No, removed that same yellowish liquid from anthraquinones, which I talked about earlier. In fact, along with useful applied substances to inflame skin stimulus. It's like trying to put out a fire by pouring water on it, with a mixture of water and gasoline. Water extinguishes, gasoline ignites. In the end, it's worse than before. That's why. It is important to know the correct technique preparation. And here is the first important secret. The cut aloe leaf cannot be used right away. He needs to lie down. When you cut off a leaf, the plant experiences stress, and in response to this stress begins produce special substances, biogenic stimulants. This was discovered by the Soviets. Scientist Filatov in the 30s of last year century. He discovered that if plant tissue placed in unfavorable conditions, darkness and cold, she begins to fight for survival. And in the process of this struggle, substances are formed which then stimulate the human body. Therefore, the cut leaves need to be wrapped in a dark cloth or paper and put in refrigerator for at least 12 days, better for 2 weeks. Only after that is the sheet ready for use. Concentration of useful, the amount of substances in it increases several times once. This is the first secret, but there is also the second one is related to how exactly extract the gel from the leaf. And thirdly, with what aloe can be combined, but what with, it is absolutely forbidden. But we'll talk about this when we talk about specific recipes. And now let's move on to practice and the 3 main things directions where aloe shows itself best of all. Most people uses aloe for skin, burns, cuts, irritation. This is correct, but this is the most obvious application, the tip of the iceberg. But here's something few people know about. Aloe works great from the inside. And the direction I want to talk about, this is the gastrointestinal tract. Aloe coats the walls of the stomach, and a protective layer is formed in the intestines. This in itself provides relief from gastritis, ulcers, inflammation. But at the same time, active substances penetrate into damaged tissues and start the recovery process. Remember, the main thing when you have problems with aloe is taken internally for stomach, a certain dosage course, not just one once, namely in a course and necessarily properly prepared. Second, the direction is the skin. Aloe is known here. That's all. But there are some nuances here too. I'll tell you about my neighbor, a 70-year-old woman. Let's call her Anna Ivanovna. Type 2 diabetes. Like many people at that age. With diabetes, any wounds heal poorly. A scratch can become a problem. One day I accidentally hit my foot on the edge of the bed. A small bruise. It seems like a minor thing. But after a week, the wound not only did not it healed, it became larger. It became inflamed. The doctor prescribed antibiotic ointments. It didn't help much. I then suggested try aloe, but don't just apply it sheet, as they usually do, and prepare compress according to all the rules from refrigerated sheet with properly extracted gel. Anna Ivanovna made such compresses 2 weeks, changed twice a day, and the wound it dragged on completely. But I want to say, important thing, aloe is not a replacement treatment. If you have a serious wound, if there are signs of infection, pus, severe redness, fever, need to see a doctor. Aloe works well as a supplement as well assistant, but not as the only one a remedy for serious problems. And also one thing. There are people who find aloe helpful. You can't apply it to your skin. They're allergic. It is rare, but it does occur. Therefore, before the first use, always do a test. Apply a little gel to the inside of the wrist. Wait 24 hours. If there is no redness, itching, rashes, you can use it. Third direction, the most unexpected immunity. Remember I was talking about acesmenin, a substance that stimulates macrophages, our immune cells. So here, with regular intake of aloe vera, the immune system starts working better. This is especially important at our age. After 60, immunity is not the same as in youth. We get colds more often, we recover longer, but it's harder to bear infections. I started taking aloe myself. Courses 3 years ago. Not constantly, it's important, namely in courses. I've been taking it for a month to a month's break, and I noticed it started to hurt, less often. Previously, every winter there were at least 2 colds. Now I have one at most and I can handle it easier. Of course, it's not just aloe. I also go for walks every day and I eat normally, but aloe is part of this system. However, there are people who take aloe internally. It is absolutely forbidden to accept. And if you are in this group, know the benefits are not worth the risk. Who these people? Now I'll tell you about them, and I will give you specific recipes. What to mix with what, in what proportions, how much to take, and most importantly, how avoid mistakes that can turn medicine into poison. So, recipes, but first let's agree on safety rules. This is more important than the recipes themselves. Who should not take aloe internally? First, pregnant women. Aloe stimulates smooth muscle contraction muscles, including the uterus. The risk is not worth any potential benefit. Second, people with acute inflammatory intestinal diseases. If you have an exacerbation of colitis, the disease Crohn, acute hemorrhoids, aloe inside not we accept. Third, those who suffer from bleeding or takes blood-thinning medications aloe may enhance their effects. Fourth, people with serious illnesses, liver and kidneys, excretory systems and so on work with load, there is no need to add they work. And fifthly, if you have allergies on plants of the lily family, onions, garlic, tulips, aloe and their relatives, and allergies can spread. If you don't fit into any of these groups, you can try. But to start always in small doses, always now. Sheet preparation is a stage without which everything else makes no sense. Step 1. Choose the right sheet. We make holes in the lower leaves, the oldest ones and fleshy. They should be at least 3 years. How to determine age. If the plant has been living with you for a long time, you are approximately you know. If you don't know, use your bearings, by size. The sheet must be at least 15 centimeters in length. Step 2. Cut the sheet off the very foundation. The third step, the very one, which I talked about earlier. Let's wrap it up sheet in dark paper or fabric and put in the refrigerator. Not in the freezer, exactly in refrigerator, in the vegetable compartment. The temperature should be between 4 and 8 degrees, and we leave it there for at least 12 days. Why is this necessary? During this time in the sheet, biogenic stimulants accumulate. The concentration of useful substances increases several times, and the quantity irritating anthraquinones, on the contrary, is decreasing. The fourth step is the most important. We take the sheet out of the refrigerator and correctly we extract the gel. We cut off the thorns edges. Then we cut a thin strip from one flat side of the sheet. See the clear gel inside? Here it is, that's what we need. Now pay attention. You see, at the edges closer to the green skin yellowish layer, these are the very ones anthraquinones. They need to be removed. Let's take spoon and carefully collect only transparent gel from the center. Yellow not we touch it, but don't scrape it right down to the skin. It's better to take less gel but pure. This the basics, now the recipes. Recipe 1. A prepared gel is needed for the stomach. Aloe, honey and good butter. Proportion 1 part divided, 1 part honey, 1 part butter. Grind the ingredients into a pulp. We take liquid honey. If candied, slightly warmed up water bath, but not higher than 40 degrees. We also soften the butter to room temperature. Mix everything together until homogeneity. We take 1 at a time tablespoon 3 times a day for 30 minutes before meals. The course is 3 weeks. Then 2 take a week's break. Repeat if necessary. We store the mixture in the refrigerator in a glass container. Jar with a lid no more than 2 weeks. Why does it work? Honey itself has healing properties. Oil creates an additional protective film on the walls of the stomach, and together with aloe they work 3 times more efficiently than separately. Honey enhances the effect. It is he who reveals the potential of aloe completely. Recipe 2 for skin. Here it's all simpler. The prepared gel can be used in pure form. Apply a thin layer on the damaged area. No rub it in, just apply it. Let it soak in. Repeat 2 to 3 times a day. For you can add more to enhance the effect, a few drops of vitamin E sold in capsules at the pharmacy. We pierce the capsule, squeeze out the oil and mix it with the gel. This is especially good for aging skin, for healing and softening. Recipe the third one is for immunity. Avoy gel. Mix with honey in a 1-to-1 ratio 1. Take 1 teaspoon in the morning on an empty stomach. The course is 1 month. A break of 2 months. 3 or 4 of these can be carried out a year course. Remember, at the very beginning I said that I learned something about aloe that I didn't. No, they tell in medical textbooks. Now I'll tell you this. The secret is that aloe needs to be taken at a certain time of day for the stomach and intestines, in the morning on an empty stomach 30-40 minutes before meals. This is the time when the mucous membrane is most susceptible, and medicinal substances are absorbed to the maximum for immunity also in the morning, but you can also do it in the evening an hour before sleep. At night, the body recovers, and support at this time is especially valuable. On the contrary, it's best for the skin. Evening use works. Apply gel before bed and active overnight. The substances do their work while you rest. Taking into account the time cycles, the functioning of the body, you can significantly increase the effectiveness of treatment. The final touch that makes it all happen really working. Aloe any pill. You can't take it once and wait for a miracle. This plant works gently, gradually, cumulative effect. You will notice the first results in a week or 2. Real changes will occur in a month or a month and a half. And here many give up and try several days, do not see instant effect, and they throw and then they say, aloe doesn't work. It works, but it requires patience and constancy. You know, I've been prescribing to people for 30 years pills. I did it honestly, according to science, as they taught. And the pills helped, no I argue. Modern medicine saves lives and it's stupid to deny it. But over the years I realized one thing. Pills most often they remove symptoms. Belied, dulled the pain, inflammation, suppressed the inflammation, but the cause did not go away happened. Aloe and similar natural remedies work differently. They don't drown out, they help the body cope with itself problem, give him a resource and support, building material, and the body itself brings order. This does not mean that you need to give up doctors and get treatment only herbs. I never do that. I'll tell you. If you have serious illnesses, go to the doctor, get examined, get treatment. But aloe can be wonderful an addition and assistant on the way to health. I have aloe growing on my windowsill, which is already 15 years old. My wife planted it when we moved into this apartment. Back then I was still laughing, why do we need this? Thorny bush. Now I know why. This plant has helped us over the years, many times. Me with my stomach, my wife with her skin, grandchildren with scratches and abrasions. It stands on the window asking for nothing, only water once a week and always ready help. Maybe you have such a plant too, it's standing somewhere gathering dust. So take a closer look at it. Cut it off. A few leaves, put in refrigerator. After 2 weeks, prepare the mixture, the recipe I gave you. Try it and you'll see for yourself. 90% of people use aloe. Wrong. Now you are in those 10 who know how to do it wisely. Thank you for being with me. Take care and be healthy.